You might not know this, but at least one of the 50 states has already acknowledged that we're the American Indians, and that gives us an entry point. President Biden and the Congressional Black Caucus actually had a plan, but Biden abandoned the plan. But what's critical about this is that it acknowledges black pre-Columbian American Indians.
Freedmen will now have their citizenship rights restored.
Congress has long held a resolution since 1989 for doing exactly this.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up out of your sleep, 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 sleep.
Guys, what we're about to talk about is a game changer. This is a big deal. Unahia just updated its campaign strategy because of what I'm about to tell you, but let me just give you a little bit of context for people who are new to the channel, because this channel has grown by well over 175% in the last 28 days. If you've been to this channel before, you hear me talk about Unahia all the time, but I rarely explain what it is. In short, Unahia is a small team of highly capable individuals trying to lobby Congress for federal recognition of black Americans as pre-Columbian American Indians. I'm one of them. I'm the public information officer, so I'm out front recruiting and providing information. I'm also handling PR because of my background in print journalism. I'm a member of the National Association of Black Journalists. I've reported on politics, business, and healthcare for several editorial newspapers and magazines, both domestic and overseas. Right now, we're focused on a well-planned lobbying campaign to get the Negro recognized as the American Indian, and our campaign strategy hinges on exploiting a quasi-legal precedent in an amendment proposal for a dormant Senate resolution that already exists. I'll explain what all that means later, but today I want to explain what the precedent is, because a lot of black people have no clue it exists, much less that it can be used in Congress to secure the Negro right to self-determination as American Aborigines. It's called the Moorish Amerindian Law. We genuinely have extant legislation to open the door to our claims, and beyond that, it'll be all about how airtight our argument is. We're gonna talk about it, but first, I want to appeal to everyone watching this video to support the campaign by joining Unahia. And guess what? You don't even have to know a single thing about politics or history. Just help us build our list of demands and help each other use Unahia's genealogy tools to identify your ancestral tribes. Vote yes or no on the hundreds of decisions we have to make. Participate in our tribal town hall meetings after every new moon. Look, I fully recognize how difficult it can be to stop what you're doing just to hit somebody's link in the description box or to remember to do it later, but this is really important, guys. Think about it. This is one time when you're being asked not to support the YouTuber, but to instead support a cause. I'm not asking for super chats or any other donations to my own pocket. If you've got any spare change, use it to become a stakeholder in Unahia, which can be done for as little as $7. You can opt into stakeholder leadership for about $20 if you've got the budget for it, which gives you greater voting power on the decisions we make as a tribe. That's the Red Stick Council. Shout out to Brother Diorio, by the way, our newest Red Stick stakeholder. Bottom line, yes, this channel is meant to disseminate the truth on the wings of the four winds more than anything else, but a secondary purpose is to support Unahia, who's doing the same thing on a larger scale. Please don't let these just be more YouTube videos about black people being Indians. Believe it or not, it only takes 5 minutes to help us reclassify ourselves as Indians. Let's go! You might not know this, but at least one of the 50 states has already acknowledged that we're the American Indians, and that gives us an entry point. You might be surprised to know how pervasive the idea of Moorish pre-Columbian Indians actually is. Here's the thing, it's actually already been acknowledged by at least one state government. When a legislative body passes a resolution to simply acknowledge someone or something, that declaration becomes law if it passes. That law codifies how the government establishes it as a legal fact that something is true, inasmuch as it is the official position of the government that the declared fact is legitimate. I'm now showing you the text of Georgia House Resolution 1203 from the fiscal 2014 legislative session. Now, this bill espouses Moorish science, with which I and many of you might not fully agree, but we don't need to agree with all of it. We only need a specific piece of this bill, but let's read the relevant clauses. Quote, Whereas the Moorish Americans are teaching their people their true nationality and divine creed, that they may become better citizens and know that they are not Negroes, colored folk, black people, nor Afros, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865. In this era of time, as all nations are seeking peace, the indigenous Moorish peoples of the Americas are now united to link themselves with the family of nations. And whereas the Moorish Americans, being aboriginal to the territories of North, Central, and South Americas, have formed a sovereign, theocratic government and guided by the command principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice through virtue of the universal right to self-determination, as well as with the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples guaranteed in the Charter of the United Nations. End quote. Now you can feel free to read the rest of this resolution because the link is in the description as usual. We always link all sources down there on this channel. It's full of things we're all gonna disagree over, but what's critical about this is that it acknowledges black pre-Columbian American Indians, an extant black population throughout the Americas before colonization. This resolution passed, so the state of Georgia acknowledges that as true. That means we can use this as a quasi-legal precedent for a resolution at the federal level. We're talking Congress now. Unahia's strategy is going to incorporate that into its working draft of an amendment proposed to a pre-existing bill, and I'll explain why they're doing it that way in a minute. But the point is, we're telling Congress, hey, Georgia already admits that this was the case. We're looking for the nation as a whole to admit it now. So this opens the door for Congress to have to discuss whether there's any truth to this, if that conversation becomes relevant in any future deliberations. Now I'm going to explain how Unahia's campaign would make this relevant and what context it would be used in. What Unahia is doing is lobbying to get the Native Histories and Cultures Act of 2023 resurrected so we can get an amendment attached to it that requires any and all public education regarding Native Americans, as well as institutional research pertaining to Native Americans, to acknowledge that pre-Columbian American Indians were Negroes. The Native Histories and Cultures Act of 2023 was never signed into law. How do we resurrect it then? Well, technically, it never died because it was never defeated on the floor. It got referred to committee and never returned during that congressional session. So why bring it back and amend it? Because we're following the same strategy that the Congressional Black Caucus has for H.R. 40. Let's back up for context on that. H.R. 40 is the resolution that aims to establish a committee to study the logistics of reparations. The Democratic Party is a little embarrassed over Joe Biden because when he campaigned, he made a promise to support a study of the logistics of making reparations for slavery. Then, when we put him in office, he blatantly tore up that promise. I know you're wondering how this is related, but stick with me. I'm going somewhere with this. Congress has long held a resolution since 1989 for doing exactly this, and the bill never moves. Biden's black supporters were hoping he would finally back that bill and push it through with some amendments. He didn't do it. Here's PolitiFact, quote, "On another promise, we found scant evidence of action. Biden promised to support the study of reparations. He did not promise to pay reparations, only to study it. Biden could form a commission to study reparations or back a long-standing proposal in Congress to study it." That's H.R. 40. He could give a speech calling for a study on reparations. We found no evidence that he took any such steps, end quote. So that's PolitiFact reporting on the fact that he just didn't do what he said he would do. But it gets worse. Since Biden was dragging his feet during his incumbency, there came a point when he eventually had to just explain to black leaders that he just wasn't gonna do it. In 2021, here's what Politico reported. Headline, "Biden privately tells lawmakers not to expect much on reparations." Quote, "As a candidate, Biden said he supported a commission on reparations, but the administration has yet to endorse the actual bill. After his speech Tuesday, the president met with the members of the Congressional Black Caucus who brought up the need for H.R. 40, which is named after the 40 acres and a mule promise that now symbolizes the lack of support formerly enslaved people received from the federal government. According to those involved in the conversations, Biden let them down gently. End quote. Okay, so why are we reading this? Well, the point of it is that President Biden and the Congressional Black Caucus actually had a plan, but Biden abandoned the plan, yet still intended to string black people along to vote for him a second time. He was dangling reparations over our heads to secure the black vote for re-election, but he didn't want to risk losing too many white voters in battleground states by actually pushing reparations. That plan was to revive a resolution from 1989, make some amendments to it, and then whip votes for it in both chambers. That's exactly what Unahia is trying to do with the far younger Native Histories and Cultures Act of 2023. So you can rest assured that Unahia's strategy makes sense because it's more or less the same as what the Congressional Black Caucus, a group of black insiders, still intends to do with H.R. 40. My whole point is that Unahia's plan is super doable. But all they need is to get support from our people. Unahia needs a lot more of you to become stakeholders. That's the most important support you can provide. Plus, you'll be joining an internet tribe of disenfranchised Indians like yourself. You can make that happen without knowing the first thing about Congress or American history or even what tribes you come from. The other thing is, I know a lot of you watch Dane Calloway, Kurimeo Ahau, Sosolinia, Big Judah, Ayob Natsir. Listen, with all the content you guys watch, a lot of you are more knowledgeable about proof that we're the American Indians than anyone in Congress is. We're drafting a manifesto, a list of facts we want acknowledged. I can tell by the comments I get on this channel that if we had more of you guys as stakeholders contributing to that list of acknowledgements, we'd be in much better shape. Join Unahia and add what you know to the list. Here's the thing though, we need to make sure that all the acknowledgements we ask for are politically correct. For example, a lot of you want to say no slaves were brought from Africa. That'll never fly because the mainstream facts dispute that. We have to work with the facts that the mainstream sources provide, which is why the channel relies almost exclusively on mainstream source material for every presentation. Some of you will want Native Americans to be classified as Asians. That's not going to be taken seriously either. However, we can use mainstream sources to prove that Native Americans are actually the descendants of American Indians and Europeans, and that the original American Indians were black. Many of you want to include the fact that we're the Yatzaralim, or as most people say, the Israelites. While this channel is committed to proving that as well, Unahia can only fight one battle at a time. And it'll be easier to prove that once we establish the Amerindian connection to that identity anyway. Last thing, guess what? We don't even need our proposal to pass in Congress. When you join Unahia, you'll learn more about the long play on this strategy and what we hope to achieve by attempting this. Whatever you do, don't just sit back and do nothing on this. We throw super chats at YouTubers just so they can have some extra income, even though they already get paid for monetized content by the YouTube partnership program. Unahia stands for an actual cause that we can all get behind. Of all the things to support that. Use the QR code or the link in the description box right now. Don't wait, don't hesitate, don't equivocate, don't pontificate. Just click that link and let's make some noise out here.
Big story out of Oklahoma where the Muscogee Nation, they now have to abide by a landmark ruling that recognizes African Americans and the descendants who are part of this nation. Attorney Damaro Solomon Simmons has been leading this effort. We, of course, have talked about it several times as well. He joins us right now, of course, co-founder of Justice for Greenwood. So go ahead and tell us what's up with the Creek Freedmen. Walk people through what happened today and how significant this is to Mario.
For the first time in 46 years, Black Creeks, also known as Creek Freedmen, will now have their citizenship rights restored to the Muscogee Creek Nation.
By the way, guys, spread the word about what Unahia is doing. One of the ways you can help us get more people talking is by copping these dope new jackets they made. We want the truth to become a social contagion that spreads nationwide. It's just a subtle way to get up in a Negro's face and say, "Wake